The Orange beat a ranked team in the Dome for the third straight year. Dungey plays his best game of his career, in my opinion, and Syracuse is going to a bowl game. Syracuse is ranked. Life is good as a Syracuse fan. I'm Sean. This is the Cuse Militia Podcast.
Is that an orange in your pants, or are you just happy Cuse won? Make some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and follow on Twitter at Cuse Militia. The right of the people to keep and wear orange shall not be infringed.
All right, what is up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Today, Tyler Marona is going to come on the program, and he is going to join us for a bulk majority of the Postgame against NC State. But, as always, first, we got to hear from the good folks over at MyBookie. And you guys know the deal. You know the deal. If you're betting online and with anyone else other than MyBookie, you're what? You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. They've been in business for years. They have great reviews online, and their mobile site is easy to use. I would only recommend a service to my listeners that's been good to me. That's why I'm urging you to make your way over to MyBookie. You win, they pay. They have in-game live betting, over-unders on fantasy points scored, and the most rewarding player perks in the business. MyBookie is currently slammed with new bettors, and they want to give you the best possible service. So if you're willing to deposit money after 7 p.m. Eastern time, that is, they're going to give you an extra $25 on deposits over $100. So you can put in $100, they give you $125. That's $225. For that, you'll use the promo code CUSE. If you want to deposit anytime before 7 p.m. Eastern, they will still match your deposit dollar for dollar. But for that, you will use promo code CUSE. Visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie. And don't forget to use the promo codes that I just gave you. You know the deal. You win, you get paid. So that's it. Thanks to MyBookie for helping us out there at the beginning of the show. Getting things rolling, right? So, Joe, we're going bowling.
Yeah, we are.
We're going bowling, and we're ranked. And it's Sunday's great when you can wake up and have that to hang your hat on as a Syracuse fan, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, huge win. This is something that we were hoping for, Clemson and even maybe Pittsburgh, and once we lost that Pittsburgh game, I don't know. I just feel like everyone was kind of down and didn't know if we were going to be able to get close to the rankings again. But beating NC State, again, like you said, the third straight year, beating somebody at home, a ranked team at home. So, again, like you said, it's good. Basketball's coming up. They're ranked. Football's ranked. First time in a long time, and like you said, life is good this Sunday. Life is good.
Revel in it. We have a whole week. And we're just going to give you, this episode is just going to be the NC State post game, and we will come back again like we did last week for the Wake Forest pregame. So here we go. All right, the Orange improved to 6-2 overall, 3-2 in the ACC in front of 40,796 fans. In my opinion, Dungey plays best with a chip on his shoulder, and the QB rumblings for the week were exactly what he needed to pull off this performance as he led Syracuse to a 51-41 win over NC State. Wolfpack quarterback Ryan Finley would throw for a career high of 473 passing yards to Dungey's 411, but it wouldn't be enough. Despite being the most individual passing yards against the Orange in program history, Syracuse had 8 plays for over 20 yards or more, and one of those was an 82-yard strike to number 82, Nakeem Johnson, for a score. Dungey now holds the school's all-time leader in total offense, breaking McNabb's record of 9,950 yards. He holds 15 school records. NC State, Kelvin Harmon shredded the Orange secondary with 247 yards receiving. The Orange D gave up 541 yards in 73 plays to NC State, but they came through when it mattered, rattling Finley all game, eventually causing the mistake they needed for the win. A locked-in Elton Robertson forced a desperation pass that was picked off by Andrew Armstrong, and that's it. sealed the deal. Who was it? Strickland ran it in for the touchdown to ice it, 10-point lead, and not enough time left on the clock. So there you have it.
Yeah, it was. We needed our offense. I knew that NC State was going to put up points. Finley is a good. I mean, we all saw what their receivers and quarterbacks can do, and when I talked to some of the NC State fans, they said they were worried because they didn't think their defense or their secondary, especially, was that good. And I mean, we usually give up big plays here and there too. So it was all about if our offense is going to be able to match their offense, and what defense is going to, what big plays are going to come from special teams, defense, all the little things, turnovers, stuff like that. So we eventually won that battle and sealed the deal, and it was awesome Saturday night. I watched it with an NC State fan. So that's even more sweet. It was the first primetime game.
In Saturday night primetime game in 8 years for Syracuse. So
no, at home, I believe, right?
Well, no, I think his first primetime game on a Saturday in 8 years.
Well, they played at LSU last year, I think, in primetime. But
okay. Well, then there you go. Maybe it is at the Dome.
It's probably the home game. Yeah.
Okay.
So
fair enough. Look, we ate crow. It's like
last week
we ate crow, right? Well, maybe we shouldn't have, but maybe those rumblings, like I mentioned, those things you can't deny hearing it as a quarterback, even if you try to tune it out, it's out there, and that laid the groundwork, the motivation for Dungy to come out and do what he did.
Yeah.
And I think the best motivation sometimes is for a quarterback is another quarterback breathing down your neck.
That's what we talked about with when we were talking about spring football, and even coming up into the beginning of the season, was how the Babers, his recruits were going to come up, and we were a little bit deeper, and they were going to start challenging some of the older guys and holding a little fire to their feet, and that kind of stuff only breeds more competitiveness, and it keeps people on their toes. It can't get complacent. And Dungy even said in his press conference that might have been the case. But boy, did he changed our minds really quick. Tommy DeVito, he's came in and he's saved 2 games for us. But Dungy, I mean, he's the guy. So we've gone through some things, and whenever someone has a bad game, if there's any type of negativity, there's going to be the rumblings anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. But I think a guy like Dungy uses it as motivation, and he put it all out there. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So got.
How about the receivers, man?
Well, how about Sean Riley?
Dude.
Because not exactly the go-to, but with his speed and everything, it proved to be the number one for this game. What do you have? Let's see, 164 yards on 10 receptions. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The only thing he didn't have a touchdown, but he did everything else, and he did set up a lot of the touchdowns that were scored.
Nykeem Johnson had a big game.
Nykeem Johnson, he came in. He followed up with 136 yards, and Sean Riley. So, a touchdown. Taj Harris with a touchdown. They're not that big,
but yeah.
Yeah,
he's really, really him and Nykeem Johnson are really fast. Nykeem Johnson only being a sophomore, Taj Harris only being a freshman. I'm excited about those guys. They're only going to get better. So it was awesome. I mean, they made some great catches. There's a lot of good individual effort out there yesterday, especially from the receivers. We've seen some drops in the past that have kind of hurt the quarterback, and some of the stuff that Dungy and the quarterbacks get kind of blamed for. But they played great. And I'll tell you what, kudos to Babers in the just keeping the locker room together, keeping the guys together. Because sometimes those kind of things, you'll lose locker rooms. You'll have certain groups that think one person should play certain, all these guys, they trust Babers and what he's doing. They believe in what he's doing. And everyone, like he always says, Ohana and family and everything. I truly believe that locker room is together, because that's one of the only ways that something like this happened. I mean, did you see the touchdown to Nykeem Johnson where DeVito ran out and
shook Dungy's hand?
Well, he went up and they jumped up and the chest bumped and
right.
The whole team's into it. DeVito knows that it's only a matter of time before this team is his. And he's a redshirt freshman. He's gonna prepare like he's gonna play, but at the end of the day, he knows that this is Dungey's team for this year, and he's just gonna support the team as much as possible. And if they need him to come in and win a couple games like they have, then he's gonna do it. So,
all right. All right, joining us now on the Cuse Militia podcast is former Syracuse defensive end and fellow podcaster, host of the Trademark podcast, Tyler Marona joins us. Tyler, what's up, man? It's finally happened. You're on. Glad to have you.
Well, first and foremost, guys, thanks so much for everything that you guys do. I know that you guys add a lot to the community. And before we get too soft here, I also want to say thank you for shouting my show out. I really appreciate it, and it goes a long way. So thanks. It's an honor to be on. Awesome, man. Awesome.
No problem.
And thank you. We've heard our names on your show, and that's what this is all about. So just to get that straight, Tyler is host of the Trademark podcast, as I mentioned, and as soon as you're done listening to ours, you can go listen to his. We've heard people say, we wish you guys would put out more episodes during the week. Well, this is a quasi solution. You can go listen to Tyler's show too. Between the two of us, we put out like 4 episodes a week sometimes. So, So I thought it was funny. Baber said he compared Dungey to Seabiscuit. Said you don't need to whip him, you just need to show him the whip. And Dungey, the QB controversy, it reignited his fire. He completed 71% of his passes. And I mean, he had that fire lit. He was awesome last night.
It's pretty interesting to always have any human compared to a horse, but I mean, other than that, it's I think it's true. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The fact that Eric, he was given kind of the ultimatum here, and I'll let you guys in on a secret that the majority of the time in football, your job is not won or lost on the game field. It's won or lost on the practice field. So, what happened this week was that coach never really wanted to defer away from Eric, whether that's, one reason or another. And from, what I understand with talking to my buddy Julian Wiggum was that there's always a part of coach that wants to start both guys. Now, he wants Eric to succeed because he believes that this is his year to, make an impact. And we've seen what Eric can do. And, it's just like, it's hard for me to stick with my vegetarian diet when I'm, having to eat crow after last week's show when I wanted DeVito all the way.
I know, us too. Yeah.
And just a disclaimer, I'm not a vegetarian by any means. I'm quite the opposite. But no, it's true. Like, I thought DeVito was the guy. And Sean and I texted a little bit last night. And I was telling him, like, it's very clear that Eric was the clear, starter all along. And DeVito did not practice with the ones this week because when he went in, it was clear that the timing wasn't there like it was the past week. And, I love DeVito. I think he's going to be a superstar. But I just think that for whatever reason, like, Eric was the guy that, he won us the game yesterday. I mean, flat out and simple.
Absolutely.
Because without him, there's no way that this thing happened. So there's a couple things that can happen, when you're in that position. It's like you said, it's like Eric either lives long enough to be the hero or, dies just being burned out. And, it's good. I'm happy for him because, I like Eric and he's a good guy and I wish him all the best. So I was really excited to see that.
Yeah. Joe?
Yeah. That was kind of the same thing with us, Tyler. Like we've had to eat crow a couple times with the whole, no way should DeVito start, and then it happened, and you're like, wow. So we had to do the same thing. And I think it was just one of those things where, again, you didn't want to see Dungey go down like that, especially after how, all the three and a half years that he's given us, So certainly. I think there was just a shorter leash. There would have been a shorter leash, I think. Like, again, what Babers was saying, like if Dungey doesn't come out and do what he does in the first quarter, 24 points in the first quarter, then who knows how short or long that leash is, but he never really even gave anybody, the option. One thing that I did mention though in our last podcast, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, was when everyone was talking about how much do you think went into DeVito's performance against North Carolina I had a thought of maybe, North Carolina, they game planned for Dungey. They saw 3.5 quarters of Dungey, and then all of a sudden you get this guy in where you don't get a lot of tape. Do you think that had a little bit to do with probably the success of DeVito? Not trying to take anything away from DeVito, but
yeah, absolutely. No, I get what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? So that was the one point. So I didn't really know, but again, I was like, Dungy came out and he gave nobody else. Again, there's no reason. He was very, very into it, just like unlike what he was in the North Carolina game. So you could definitely tell a difference. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, if you're going to throw a knuckleballer and then all of a sudden you bring in Craig Kimbrell for the ninth, like your timing's going to be different. And Eric and DeVito are two different quarterbacks in their entirety, especially with the velocity that they put on the football. So in North Carolina, to be quite honest, guys, that is probably the worst team we're going to play all year outside of Louisville and UConn. So, I mean, the fact that, UNC was really bad at pass defense, so it did not surprise me at all. And, I just think that UNC came in the game thinking like, hey, we're just going to all out, swarm to the football when Dungy has the ball. And then that's all they practice, because they're only good enough to be able to, master one thing. To be multiple on defense, you have to be so good and have so many interchangeable parts that and UNC doesn't have that right now. So I just think it was a matter of UNC kind of got caught with their pants down, and, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Dungy said he was quoted as saying, "I don't want to say I was getting complacent, but I was getting comfortable, and you can never get comfortable." And
totally.
That was kind of I guess to sum it up in a nutshell from his perspective to the fans, that's kind of what it looked like. He's just kind of out there doing his thing, and he was missing something. I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks now, him missing something. But one thing last night that really was awesome, as I mentioned it to Joe too. I mean, first person to turn the ball over is going to lose, and it was a perfect game all the way up until late in the fourth quarter.
I know.
And Dungy, he did a really good job throwing the ball. First of all, he was not just throwing them, sideline balls and wide receiver screens and stuff. I mean, he was throwing to slot receivers and stuff, which is something, we're not really. I didn't know if he was not comfortable with it or they just don't call his number on that, but there was a switch there. So. Being mistake-free was crucial, though, and he put balls where pretty much only his receivers could get them, except for the free play.
And that's the
he
cool
had a
part
free play.
Yeah, totally. And that's the cool part about this game is that, for the most part, it was a very clean game by both teams, honestly. And these were two good football teams that were playing. And it's really cool to see that, Syracuse finally elevated their game to be better than a team that I thought coming in was better than Syracuse. Syracuse actually outperformed NC State in just about every category.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it was really awesome. But here's kind of my take with Dungy. There's obviously a mortality that comes with anybody's football career. And so Eric's probably thinking around the corner, hey, if I have any shot at the NFL, I'm going to have to start doing things differently. So he starts overextending himself so he can say that I have to change because they're not going to want me if I keep playing the way that I play. This, wild man attitude, this, different style of play that's herky-jerky, relies on the feet, not the arm. And I think he wasn't really getting complacent. I just think that he was kind of psyching himself out, thinking I'm not going to have the ability to move on to the next level. And coach showed him hey, well, if you're really that concerned about, the future and not concerned with now, I'll just replace you, today. And I think once Eric saw that, he was like, you know what? I think it's best that I actually play to my style, because that's the winning formula for Syracuse is Dungy to be Dungy and just not overextend himself. And we saw what he can do. And on that first deep ball that he threw on the trips left, three seams, he put that ball right in the breadbasket. That was a throw that I thought only DeVito can make on this roster. So, I mean, I saw deep ball accuracy out of him a couple times.
Yeah, wobble. Nice, tight.
Yeah, and the last note I had on Eric Dungy was all of his touchdown passes were throws that were made in under 2.5 seconds, which means that he did not think about the ball releasing, and all his accurate throws were released in under 2 seconds almost. So that shows me that if he's thinking, he's no good.
Right.
So it was good to see that he was firing again.
Yeah, the first half QB change, Tyler, I texted you last night on that. I didn't like it, but I guess looking back and hearing the post-game press conference, basically I think what had happened, you tell me, Coach was showing him the whip again. There was a stagnant second quarter. They scored the 27 points in the first quarter, and
24.
24, and then the stagnant second quarter, and so he showed him the whip. He threw DeVito in, and gave him a series. So and then it picked back up after that.
Right after the half.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things with Dungy that I liked, and I mentioned it last podcast, Sean, was that in the North Carolina game, Dungy he didn't seem to even attempt like a pass down the middle or over top the linebacker, in the middle of the field. And it was nice to see, I think the first completion he had was that post to Taj Harris right down the middle, and it just looked like his balls were completely different than what they were. So, like I said, maybe it was something like what Tyler was talking about. It was just a mental block, and he kind of got the message. And I'm sure throughout the week in practice, like Tyler said, if you don't prove that you can do it in practice, they're not going to put you in the field during the game. So,
yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts from Joe and Tyler on Dungy and the offense?
Well, I guess the only thing that I would say was that these type of things happen where, you get subbed in for all the time. Like on the defensive line, like if you're not performing like 2 plays in a row, like we'd be subbed in and out. Yeah. But you don't notice it because just one guy that looks the same and for another guy that looks the same. And, you kind of get lost in the shuffle. But when it's at quarterback, it's much different, right? So yeah. I just want everybody to know that like this happens more so than people think. It's just not as recognizable. So it's like it's not that weird to have this happen, but fans may just be like, oh, well, either way, it's going to be a wasted series. And it proved to not be, because even though DeVito went in there and it was a 3-and-out, look what Eric did the rest of the game. He really stepped up his game, and it showed why those things are important, even if they don't yield points right away.
Exactly. That's great. So we've watched this defense get shredded on the ground. We've watched them get shredded through the air like last night. But there's one consistent thing with this defense, and that's them frustrating quarterbacks. No matter who they played, they've gotten to every quarterback. In Finley, he was only sacked 5 times the entire season. I don't know his hurried numbers or anything like that, but was it 3?
Yeah.
I think it's 3, and then Clemson got him twice. So it was 5.
Oh, is that what that was?
I think so. So, they rattled his cage out there in pretty much the entire game.
Certainly.
Every time he dropped back to pass. And I thought that was awesome. And that's one consistent with the Syracuse defense, is that they may give up a lot of yards, but they're going to make these quarterbacks pay if they hold on to the ball too long. So,
yeah.
And then as far as the defense, too, finishing games and not choking, a lot of the games last year was Miami, Florida State. Those were games they couldn't finish. I think the Pitt game was a game that they didn't finish and they could have put away and didn't. So, I think things are looking up for the defense in some respect. They're banged up too. So,
yeah, secondary.
The secondary's banged up. And
hey, look, when you're playing against, a 6-year quarterback who's almost 24 years old and some NFL receivers, and you have like the defensive backs that we have as far as just being a little young and stuff, you're going to give up points. You're going to give up big plays. I just think, like in a game like last night, it came down to, you got to make the stops when you need it, make big plays. That's all there is to it. We made the stop when we needed it.
Yeah, they did. They came through when it was time to come through. They came through, and they did that a couple times last night. So, any thoughts on the defense, Tyler?
Yeah, it's hilarious that all of a sudden, next thing you know, what we're doing, we can't stop the run. Then we have a great game against the run. It completely nullifies their run game. But at the same time, Finley is legit. He really reminds me of a guy that's going to be somewhere in between an Alex Smith and maybe a little bit above that at the next level. A consistent guy that has accuracy. And the biggest thing that happened in that game was that, what to me has been the most frustrating part of the defense, because I have been a defensive lineman, is that our defensive line is, those guys are 3 killers up there. And not to leave out our nose tackle by any means, but our both ends on our 3 technique are just killing it right now. And for me, that's the most encouraging thing, because the best part about a great defense is having either knowing what you're going to get play after play out of your defensive line, because then you can set the tone. And honestly, if we win by 10 if Syracuse won every game by 10 points, then we'd be national champions at some point, right? So it's like, I don't care what the points are as long as we win. I just want to know that when the game's on the line, that we have a guy like Alton Robinson that I wish he didn't slow down on that last play, just that one step, and completely obliterated Finley. And but it's still it actually kind of worked out, because that one step gave us that interception. Yep. So it was perfect in the game, and I was freaking out. And I think the coolest part about the defense was NC State gave us is the best that they could, and we still came out on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They really did. It was Finley's most yards throwing in his career, and it was also the most individual yards Syracuse has given up since the program started. So,
of course,
he absolutely did give it his all. It was exciting. I never really I didn't get nervous as like I usually do during SU games, where I'm pacing the floor and screaming and waking kids up. But yeah, I thought it was great. They came through when they needed it. So this morning, ranked for the first time in 17 years. That's huge. And they actually stole NC State's spot at 22nd in the AP poll. And I mean, this is huge for the fans. It's huge for the football team. It's huge, but for Babers coming in with a team that's clearly on the rise. Babers he gets them to a bowl game, and the next day they're ranked for the first time in 17 years. I mean, you couple that with the coach himself, and you got to see recruiting's going to get easier, and just what a milestone for Babers. I think it's awesome. I just love it.
Yeah. No, it was great. It's definitely great. And about 40,000, even though one of my buddies told me that a decent crowd left at halftime, which normally does happen. So
yeah, why?
But
why halftime? They were ahead at halftime too.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But a bunch of people left. I mean, my buddy left when they were only down 7 points against North Carolina. There's just some fair weather fans. I don't get it. But it's great that we're finally ranked, and I'd love to know the stat of the last time that our football and basketball team were both ranked at the same time.
Yeah, that actually be a great stat. And it's funny that we literally just swapped with NC State, and the voters are just yeah, just whatever. Well, they beat them, so we'll give them number 22. But you know how many a lot of fans thought that after the Pitt game, and including myself, I didn't think that we were going to be ranked this year, regardless of how it finished, just because we had that loss on there, but. I think what the voters saw was that Pitt has actually been on a run here.
Yeah.
And I think that the voters are always going to be weird about these types of things. And I mean, not to mention that the first college football playoff ranking comes out, and that'll be more interesting to me to see where those voters think we are, because that's the real, that's where we, our recruiting bones are going to be made is, in where are we comparatively to the rest of the country? And can we really put our foot down and say, no, you don't have to go there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go to this place to get this thing, that thing, or the other. You can come here and have a top 25, experience in football with the facilities, with this education. And that's what's really going to turn the corner is that even though there may not be recent tradition, we can go back on old tradition and we can say, we're building that back up again. And here's how we're going to do it. And it's really important to see how this thing finishes for that reason. So I'm really excited to see what the College Football Playoff Committee has to say.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Joe, any final thoughts?
Well, there's just good timing with that too, because you got the dome renovations. Babers has had a couple of the better recent recruiting classes, and again, having a season like this, if we can end up going on and winning 2, 3 more games, 4 more games, who knows? That's going to be huge with recruiting, and of course, that's going to help even with what Tyler was talking about too. If we keep winning, so
yeah,
Notre Dame game's looking pretty good.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting, Notre Dame. Hey, Tyler, real quick, if I'll put you on the spot here for your any thoughts on Wake Forest coming up?
I just remember that I saw their kicker miss 4 field goals in one game, so he's a mental midget. And then I'm not afraid anymore. Bring them on. Notre Dame, come at me. Clemson, not anymore because we already lost to you, but still, I don't want to face you again. So that's the only team I'm kind of I don't want to face you. But everybody else, bring it on.
Yep.
And so, I mean, Wake Forest, I've never really been concerned with them. That's always been a swing game. But now that we're already bowl eligible, these I think the teams have played a lot looser. I mean, just from here on out, it's the monkey's off our back. Let's just go play football and have fun.
Yeah, I think they've gotten us the last 2 games, 2 years. But
well, they had,
like you said,
they had a senior quarterback. They had a pretty good quarterback there, and pretty good defense. This year, their defense is worse in the ACC. So now that it seems we have some of our offensive issues, plumbed out, I don't think we should really have an issue. And I'm going to that game next weekend too. So it better be good weather, and Dungy better do exactly what well, maybe not exactly, but
Dungy's best game of his career?
Ooh.
In my opinion, absolutely. Well, I mean, in my opinion, statistically, yeah. I mean, that was the most impact he's had on a football game from what I've seen.
Yeah, I would agree. I couldn't think of any one game that stood out quite like last night with all that was on the line, and then just the impact, like you said, Tyler, coming to today, and now they're ranked 22nd in the nation. It's huge, and what a way
First
to bounce
time since
back.
01.
Yeah, what a way to bounce back for Eric Dungy. He's a warrior. And it's like Coach says, and we've been saying it, and it's awesome. I think it's awesome. So it's glad to see him back.
It's just so hard to get on like in the national spotlight for Syracuse football. It's been like that for so long. So it's just so exciting to be able to, because we're going to start hearing people actually talk about us, So sick and tired of just watching the college game day and just waiting for them to like just mention us once, And so hopefully that'll change. And like Tyler said, bring on Wake Forest. Hopefully we can get to 7-2.
Absolutely. And Joe's upset pick before the season started was Notre Dame. So hopefully we can get that one. Now, Tyler, go ahead, man. Give out your credentials at Tyler Marona. Right? That's it, right? No space?
Yeah, at Tyler Marona on Twitter. I mean, there's not too much to subscribe to other than the trademark podcast, Syracuse Football. I do the Syracuse Football digital radio program a couple times a week. That's the name of the show as far as like, when I run just a Syracuse show. So, always I have somebody on from the other, like this week I had a guy from SB Nation that writes for the NC State blog. So I try to talk to somebody from the opposing team's media so that I get a better understanding, because as much as I was a player, I'm also a fan too. So I always try to see what I can get as far as a fan point of view.
In the last episode I listened to was with Julian Wiggum. That was really good. And when he said, Dungy's going to start, and I'm like, what is he talking about? And Dungy started.
Julian's the man. He's got
he
more
knows what he's talking about.
Stuff than I do, and it's funny that he actually. Oh yeah, no, he knows what he's talking about. And it's funny because he just actually texted me to get something on the Lakers, and I might actually have something for him. So we go back and forth.
That's awesome.
Good. But every time he talks, I like listening to what he says.
Tyler, dude, thanks for taking the time out, and we're gonna get you back ASAP. We might be doing some recruiting stuff, right? We'll work on some recruiting stuff.
Yeah,
put together a recruiting episode for football. All right, so thanks for coming on. We'll try to get you back on at least one more time before we close out the football season. And you can subscribe to Tyler's podcast on iTunes. I believe he's on SoundCloud. So, Tyler, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on. I got to run, but I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks, man.
It's time to hear from you. The loudmouths from the Loud House. The best damn college sports fans in the nation.
All right, y'all know the deal. At Cuse Militia on Facebook, at Cuse Militia on Twitter. Made it easy for everybody so that you can go there and you can participate in the fan feedback. If you want to give us a call, the number, and leave a message and get on the show that way, the number is 315-236-2436. But first, we want to give you some free stuff. As always, if you go to iTunes and you leave us a 5-star rating and a written review, we will send you the Cuse Crate. The Cuse Crate, the coveted Cuse Crate, comes in an envelope, okay? Delivered right to your door. No questions asked if I read your review on the show. So here it is. At ScribblesCK. Pre and post game must 5 stars. This is my favorite sports podcast by far. As a Cuse alum, this is a must, all caps by the way, must listen to podcast for every Cuse pregame and postgame. The hosts Sean and Joe bring a unique and focused perspective to Syracuse sports in a fun and informative dialogue. 5 out of 5 stars. That is awesome. These reviews get better and better and better, and they mean a ton to us. So we really, really appreciate that. Scribble SCK. I don't know how you read it. I have no idea. So we appreciate it. But go ahead, email us, and email me your address, and I will get that stuff out as soon as I can. We propose a question at the end of every game. What you thought. Let's hear what you have to say. And we'll start with Twitter here, at OilCuse, our buddy Captain Patrick. He says, I haven't decided if you guys owe Dungey an apology or not yet based on our comments from the last podcast. Based on your comments from the last podcast. Just FYI, I wanted DeVito to start too, but huge game for Eric Dungey and the wide receivers. Did it seem like the refs were freaking horrible? Go Cuse. All right, let's take this. Do we owe Dungey an apology, or did we just motivate Dungey? I mean, it's quite possible.
I don't think we owe Dungey an apology. I think it was more of we were just talking more. We're trying to guess. I mean, he didn't look right. And I think a lot of people didn't think that he looked right. And so we're just kind of guessing to the fact. And, DeVito just played so well and got us out of a jam that, we knew that most of the fan base probably was going to see him. And if Dungey did start, then he was going to have a short leash. If he didn't come out and just score and match Ryan Finley, then who knows when we would have seen DeVito. So, again, we're going to eat our crow. I'll man up to something that I was wrong about, but I don't think we necessarily bashed Dungey,
No, well, we never have bashed Dungey. In fact, we were opting for a 2-quarterback system. We never wanted to bench him either. So,
right.
Did it seem like the refs were freaking horrible? There was a couple calls. There was a pass interference call on Syracuse where an offensive lineman from NC State straight tackled a defensive lineman, and there was no call right in front of the referees.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a couple things I can't remember. It wasn't enough for me to remember, apparently. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Things get missed, and they let college is a lot. I mean, they let a lot of stuff go in college, I think. They let them play a little bit more. So,
well, I don't even think it was pass interference either, though. That's the thing. They missed a legit call and called one that was kind of bogus.
Yeah. I'm just used to it as a Syracuse fan.
Right, exactly. Okay. At Jay Carpenter 74, buddy Jake, Spotify won't let me rate the podcast, but I only listen to Pat McAfee Show and Heartland Radio. I'm so incredibly proud of the Syracuse team. Dino has these guys going in the right direction. First of all, you can't rate us on podcast. Rate the podcast on Spotify. You can only do that. And I said a couple weeks ago I would come back and try to find a way to for everybody to get a Cuse crate that's outside of the iTunes realm. There's really no way to rate outside of the iTunes realm. I mean, the podcasts were started by iTunes. They kind of own that, and that's why it's the most prestigious too. But proud of the team. And like we've said 100 times, even last year when they were finishing 4-8. Dino has a team going in the right direction, and obviously, killing it this year. Really, I mean, it's finally starting to see the fruits of the coaching from Dino. At Geo Heater, do you have anything to say to that?
No, I'm all set.
At Geo Heater, we have a good football team. I was all DeVito, but Dungey certainly proved himself, and I like that. We were able to put Finley on his ass a lot, which I loved. Great pressure. Offense looked very good. Nykeem is no joke. Strickland surprisingly played well. Good win. Yes, Strickland, by the way, was 1 for 1, and we cannot fail to mention this. He was 1 for 1 passing for 48 yards. So he launched one, right? I mean, that was awesome.
He was, a little underthrown, but he's a running back. I'll give him a pass.
Yeah, but he looked good doing it,
Oh, yeah. I think I don't really have anything negative with Mo Neal, Dante Strickland, or Jarvion Howard. I think I like them all. I think they all kind of have their own little things that they're good at. But Strickland, he started a majority of last year, and that's one thing that's a little not – I would say puzzling to me is how they come up with their running back rotation, Right. Strickland started a majority of last year, and then, for a little while, I mean, we see Jarvion Howard now coming in more in like late in games to run against the tired defense and down near the goal line and stuff like that. But, I mean, for a little while there, Strickland wasn't getting too many carries, and Mo Neal was getting 20-plus carries. And then I think, there's the fumble last week, but I don't know. Like I don't remember seeing Mo Neal too much last night. So, I like all of them, but
they're all. That's a great package.
The rotation is weird, So
yeah. At if not now when 84, good win. Dungey looked like he was back to his old self. Absolutely. If they would call pass interference on Harmon once in a while, this game wouldn't have been this close. The guy pushed off every time he is thrown the ball. Go Cuse. Yeah, there was a couple of that, some of that too. Yeah. So
there's
we got
definitely one down the sideline.
Yeah, and we do have some legit questions with the referees, no doubt. At Motorcycles 168, great game, great team, great coach. Yeah, being ranked for the first time in 17 years, and we mentioned this when we had Tyler on just a minute ago, being ranked for the first time in 17 years, getting a bowl game, and getting Dungy, his first bowl game, all in one weekend, that's special. And with the Syracuse team the basketball team being ranked preseason, it's a great weekend. We've said it. I'll say it again. I'll say it again. I'll beat the dead horse. Enjoy this. Let's enjoy this week because you never know when it can end. Just walk with your chest puffed out. Who cares? So let's see. Steve on Facebook. Dear God, they need to find some sort of defense. Yeah. Pretty simple. We mentioned it with Tyler again. So I don't want to be too repetitive, but they've gotten ripped through the air. They've gotten ripped on the ground. They held NC State to 68 yards rushing. That's awesome. But they also gave up 473 yards through the air. But the one consistent is they're putting quarterbacks on their butts and they're rattling their cages. And at least we have something, right?
Yeah, and you can't expect a perfect defense. It's college football. We're not Alabama. Like, teams are going to score points on us, and teams are going to. A lot of teams score a lot of points in college football. So, it's more about being timely and creating turnovers, which this team has done. We can give up yards all day, but if the team only ends up with a field goal or a missed field goal, or they end up turning the ball over, it's all about those timely things. So, and I think our team's good at doing that. We're still really good at third down defense, and like you said, our pass rush and our defensive line gets to the quarterback, and that pressure is what pretty much won us the game and sealed the deal last night. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, yeah, the last, well, not the last play of the game, but the Alton Robertson rush.
2 minutes. There's 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes to go.
DK says could easily be undefeated. And you think about that, and we're still 2 fourth down conversions on defense away from being 8-0 right now. That's crazy, right? We can still talk about that right now because it's the truth.
Right.
So, Jerry. Great win tonight, and now bowl eligible, should be consideration for top 25 team. Well, Jerry, that was last night that you left that, and you woke up this morning and you had to mosey around a little bit for the AP poll came out, and we're ranked 22nd. So
they must have listened to you. Good job.
Yeah, good job, Jerry. We have you to thank for that. Don. A few good receivers on both sides, and the QBs were making great throws. Great pressure on NC State's quarterback. At the end, caused the interception that led to the winning touchdown. Absolutely, Don. It's almost like Don has already listened to what we've said this entire episode. No, but honestly, good observation. That's it. Mike, one hell of a win. Cuse football's future looks awesome. Pay Dino and keep him in the dome.
Yeah,
we've got to keep Dino. This is they need to lock him in some kind of long term. I know that there's ways out of those things, but we've got to keep Dino here. I don't need unless he's really screwing stuff up later on down the road. Having him here to build his team and. We've still got a couple years before we have all his team. You know what I mean, Joe? What would you say?
I just am sick and tired of the 3 to 4 years and another coach,
right? Exactly. And then you got to start all over again. It's really frustrating. So
yeah,
it's been a long time of that cycle. And if we could keep Dino, everything will be good.
And I like the way that this offense and that team plays. I like the guy, the way that, just the motivator that he is, and just the way that they play fast. It's just way more. It's easy to watch, even like Doug Marone, he was okay when he got an NFL offered head coaching job just by going 500 for 4 years. He went 25-25. So you could start to see the growth, but the way that he played, just the way of the game, it's just not, it was kind of, I don't want to say boring, football, everyone has their different things, but this is just something that I want to see, and I don't want to have to see it change. And he's a good coach, and I'd like to just lock him up. We can have a long-term coach, and we could see this kind of football. And that vision that he was talking about when he first got the head coaching job is actually looking like it's coming true. So,
yeah. So, one last one here. Paul says on Facebook, better stiffen up that defense. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, we all know that, right? So. That's what it is. But that's it. Go to at Cuse Militia on Facebook and Twitter. And what you want to say something about that? Yeah.
They're
a little beat up in the secondary. I understand.
No, yeah, they are. But they've done it when they've had to. You know, we held Clemson to not a lot of points.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
and realistically, when we get into a game like Western Michigan and these other teams like UNC, it's like, yes, we give up big plays. Teams take chances and big plays happen. And I just don't see a situation where we're going to be that team that's going to beat a team 51-14. Not right now. So, again, like I said, we just outscore teams, and our defense makes timely plays, and we'll be fine, especially with the schedule we have. There's really not, other than Notre Dame. You know, Boston College is all right, but yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I was saying, at Cuse Militia on Facebook and Twitter. We appreciate everybody doing that. And, of course, if you don't want to hear me butcher your Twitter handle or your comments, you can always call 315-236-2436. I believe that's the number.
I hope it's the number.
It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook. You can find it. So, all right, Joe, final thoughts to wrap this up? Anything?
And just hope that they don't get overconfident and head down in Wake Forest next week and take care of business. Should be able to win the next two games as long as we don't play awful.
Right, and like I said, we'll be back probably Tuesday or something along those lines for some Wake Forest pregame. So look forward to giving you guys that, and that I think we'll probably do that on whatever day Joe's available. Tuesday, maybe?
Tuesday, yeah.
All right, so we'll record that Tuesday night. It'll be out Tuesday night, and you can listen to it then or Wednesday. So I want to thank Tyler Marona for coming on. That was awesome. I look forward to having him on more and more.
Yep.
Thanks to everybody who participated in fan feedback and your tweets and retweets and follows and stuff. It was a great weekend for social media. I just had a blast. I want to I want to give a shout out and thank Will Scott. This dude gets on TV nonstop in his orange suit and tie, and he's just a GIF machine. Jiffy, whatever. He's a GIF machine. So thank him for that. And so that's it. I guess we'll see you back here on Tuesday. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
This has been the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. Be heard. Contact us on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and tweet at us using #CuseMilitia.